What is going on, XEFL? This is episode 3 of the Higgy and Rob podcast. It's going to be a good show today. Got a couple new segments that we have not had before. I am your host, Higgy. With me here, I've got my co-host, Mr. Robert. What's going on, Rob?
Hey, not much. How's it going, bud?
Pretty good. I think we got a good show to plan today for these guys. What do you think?
I think we got a good one. Yeah.
All right, we've got our just traditional evaluation segment coming up here first, and then we finally got enough questions to put together a short Q&A segment that we're going to go over. And then we're going to do the AFC edition of our burning questions, where we're just going to fly through, try to go through it quick, and just give a question about each AFC team, and then we're going to end with our office rant. So we hope you guys enjoy. If you haven't watched our first couple episodes, go back and give those a view as well. All right, starting off with our show today, we're going to do our evaluation segment. Rob, why don't you go ahead and start this one off this time?
All right. Well, I'm going to start up with my write-up, and I'm going to throw my write-up at Blackpool. I know he's new to the league, just got a few games under his belt, but in the last 2 games, he's got 7 interceptions. I was very fortunate to get a win against him a couple weeks ago, which broke my streak of being winless. And in that particular game, I was able to get 7 interceptions. I mean, he's got, arguably one of the better quarterbacks in this game with Russell Wilson, who's definitely an X factor. That's even got the blitz radar, and I was trying to throw a little bit of pressure at him and get him to kind of rush his throws a little bit. But he's got a pretty talented roster. Now, granted, he's in a division with, a couple heavyweights. But as far as I'm concerned, he gets my write-up for this week. In regards to my pay increase, I've got to give my pay increase to Nick, the 49ers. I mean, this guy, he seems like he makes all the right moves. Right now, thank God I got a couple wins under my belt, because I feel like the entire XCFL league was going to lynch me if I handed Nick the number 1 overall pick in this upcoming draft, because I traded my first-round pick to Nick to get George Kittle, which, me personally, I'm a big fan of a tight end. I use a tight end probably more than other people. But, I mean, here's Nick at 7-2. He's got a top 5 pick more than likely. I mean, I'm sitting with 2 wins, so more than likely I've yielded him a top 5 pick.
The XFL are going to be out with their pitchforks after you.
It'll be bad. Nick's sitting with a quarterback. I mean, superstar Jimmy Garoppolo, who he doesn't want. I mean, he's been very vocal about the fact that he's been trying to move him out of town. He's kind of broke some of the rules that he created when he created his template to be a Super Bowl champion, in the very first season, by going out and spending on Antonio Brown, which is not, from what we gather, we're both new to the league, but from what we gather, that was not a traditional Nick move.
No, yeah. Him having your pick's definitely going to make Brian lose some sleep. I can tell you that.
But he gets my pay increase, so I'm going to go Blackpaul write-up, Nick pay increase, just pretty much just focusing on the NFC West. How about you, Higgy? What do you got?
Okay. As everybody can already see by now with our graphic up, I've got the write-up going to the Giants and Air V. The Giants, I know he doesn't have the best roster, but I'm just not a fan of the moves he made. He picked up Jared Goff, which I know he knows now that was not a good decision, but at some point at some point he's got to move away from him. I thought last season was the season. You know, Jared Goff's value is going down every second that he has him. His value goes down. So if no one's biting on him last offseason, he should have used one of those, top 2 picks that he had in taking one of those QBs, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because season number 1, there was no better time than to take the QB. Everybody already knows he screwed up by getting Jared Goff. Even everybody knows it. So cut bait with him. Even if you just have to cut him or trade him for a late round pick, it's better than holding on to him, wasting your time if you already know that this guy's not the answer. Last season was the season to let him go, and I really thought he should have done that. I'm thinking sometime in the near future, whether it's this offseason or the next, that's going to become a reality anyways. He's going to have to move on from Jared Goff. He ended up with the first 2 picks in the draft, and he still hasn't really improved record-wise. So he's gonna get my write-up this week, and then my pay raise, and this is probably well overdue. And Van, I apologize, but we've been talking about Chadwick's undefeated record, which I believe now he's lost. So there's no undefeated teams left in the XCFL. So right there with him, with the tied for the best record in the XCFL, is Mr. Van and the Cowboys. And Van is playing great. I mean, I had the privilege of playing against him last cycle, and there's not many guys who deserve a shot at the bowl more than Van. I mean, he's a good user, good guy, and he definitely deserves his shot at a championship. And I'm really excited to see what he does. Really proud of him. I think he's playing great football right now. So overdue, yes, and he gets my pay raise this week.
Agree.
All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to move on to a new segment, our Q&A segment. We finally got a handful of questions in here. We're going to go ahead and pull them up, and we're going to read them off. We're not going to mention any names. There's a few of them in here that I think clearly, especially if you follow us on Twitter, you know who the questions are coming from. But we're just going to post the question up, and me and Robert are just going to kind of give our opinions on what we feel would be the answer to that question. Okay, pull them up here. First question: when will we have an XCFL meetup?
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that?
I say, you know my thoughs on this. We talk about this down there at work all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I am very pro XCFL meetup. The users in this league are phenomenal. They're a lot of fun. It's a fun chat on Discord. It's fun competition. It's a very active league. It's very competitive, but it's very active. I say XCFL meetup, I am all in. If they want to form a committee and they need some help, I'm all in. I mean, Chicago, Miami, East Coast, West Coast, wherever, I'm in for it. So
yeah, I agree, man. I am all in for a meetup. I think it would be great. I'm not sure I'm not as flexible on you, with the wife and the young kids. That my attendance would depend on the location a little bit, but Mr. Commissioner Nick, he is from Michigan, so Chicago would not be that bad of a trip.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Chicago meetup would be great for us Southern Indiana guys down here. But no, man, I'm all for it. I'm in. If the league needs help, I'm in. I'll help out in any way I can. I think it would be a great thing for the league. It's something great to shoot for, and it doesn't have to be an annual meetup. I mean, we can do every 3 years or 5 years. I mean, whatever makes sense. But definitely getting that first one in at some point would be huge. And I honestly think attendance would be good. I mean, our core guys, which we've got a great group of 32, but I think we definitely have a lot of that 32 would go. I mean, even the Euros with enough planning, they would be there.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think XFL meetup's a great idea, and we'd leave that up to the staff and when that's going to happen. So we'll go ahead and move on to question number 2, which is this came in via Twitter. So if you really want to know who sent it, you're just going to have to follow us on Twitter and check it out. But how did the Chargers go from a playoff team to XCFL skid mark?
Oh, I seen that one on Twitter.
Yeah, poor Brackett, man. I'll go ahead and I'll give my side to this. Brackett's a good user. Here's what happened. In my opinion, he's the QB. We both. There's nothing really to say much there. I think the real key is the defense. He built his defense around the hit stick, and it was no secret. I mean, he's got 3 or 4 safeties that's got some of the best hit power in the game, and they've since kind of nerfed that a little bit. The hit stick's not as OP as far as that enforcer ability, I believe it is, where the CPU kind of does it on their own. So he's not causing the turnovers as often as he was before, and that's been and there was some chat on Twitter about this between multiple accounts that had commented on it. That's kind of been the big change is his offense hasn't been able to kind of make up for the turnovers that his defense isn't getting. Last season his defense got enough turnovers that he was able to capitalize on it, but this year he's not getting as many, and he's losing games, and he's not getting blown out necessarily, and that's why I think the defensive part is the difference maker.
Yeah, I see your point. I mean, you're probably more into the fine tune of exactly what went on with the hit sticking. When it comes to hit sticking, I just kind of block that out altogether. But me personally, he had an X factor quarterback in Philip Rivers. I know, that at some point he had to move off of him. He did move off of him. He did pick up, Phillips. We talked to him last week. I mean, good kid. He's going to be a future X factor. At some point, he had to move. I guess if you look at the big picture, he moved off an X factor. He got an X factor. Did he take a step back this year? He did take a step back. The hit sticking probably just compounded his woes, but he's a good guy. Brackett's a good guy going forward. I think he'll right the ship. But I think it had more to do with the Rivers transaction. But
yeah, it's kind of both of those combined, honestly. I mean, one thing, and I don't know if anybody's really paying attention to it. I'm sure, I guess some guys have seen it, but talking about the QB situation, yes, he went from one X factor to the other, but in my opinion, Philip Rivers is maybe out of the XFL in a couple of seasons, so he probably had to move on from him anyways. But
true,
I think he may have done it a little too early. Maybe he didn't need to do it that first season because Philip Rivers has one of the 2 best X factors in the game, if I'm not mistaken. I believe his X factor allows him to. It's either his X factor or superstar ability, but I believe he has some sort of ability that allows him to not feel the pressure when a pass rusher is, applying pressure. So he doesn't get the negative hits to his accuracy as some QBs will. So in return, Phillips is going to have more errant throws, which we've seen. I mean, I think he's thrown 20 something interceptions, maybe 22 or something like that. I mean, he's definitely not performing as well as Rivers did, and I think you're onto something there with that being part of the issue as well.
Yeah, fearless is that ability, that superstar ability that you're talking about.
Yeah, that one, and that ability and the ability that Tom Brady has, where it pretty much makes his O-line better. Those are the 2 best abilities in the game, in my opinion. So that alone would have made me want to kind of hang on to Philip Rivers for at least another season or 2. Maybe get a guy and kind of let him play behind him, as a backup,
Makes
kind of build him
sense.
up. That would have been my, route that I would have taken. But I think he'll bounce back. It'd be interesting to see what he does in the next season or two. So we'll go ahead and move on here to question number 3. Does the draft matter? Well, we've talked about this a lot, especially here recently. I say no, it does not matter. I mean, as of right now, I don't feel like there's any proof that it does matter. I think the majority of the league, honestly, probably agrees with me. I don't see the proof. I think if you think it matters, it's all hope. I don't think there's any proof so far that this draft is going that any draft is going to matter.
I big time disagree, and again, we argue about this all the time down there. The draft absolutely matters. You got to be thinking big picture. We're looking at a 10-year campaign. We are going to see a lot of these guys exit stage left, and you're going to be bringing up these new guys right now. You got to do your homework. It's very important to the owners out there. Pay attention when it comes to this draft. Do your homework. There's talent to be found. Dudley Bean, 6th round draft pick, 96 speed. He's hidden gem, star development for me. He's going to be a factor. He's a 64 overall, but you've got to stop looking at these overalls. Everybody gets so wrapped up in the overalls. They're going to develop. I mean, we're talking about 10 years. They're going to develop. Is it going to slow down? Yes. Will we see more impact players in the 70 to 85 range? Yes, as the season goes on. You might not see all those 99s that we've seen at the end of M19, but I do believe the draft does matter. I do think there's talent out there. Obviously, when you hit one at the top end, but let's have this conversation. Let's revisit this in 5 seasons and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't want to go too much into this. I mean, we can say enough to kind of give the answer. People kind of see our side. I mean, maybe we make this an office rant, episode or two down the road, but it matters to an extent. Okay, I can't say it completely doesn't matter because I mean you are right. We do have 10 seasons. You're going to have some young guys that you draft beyond the team, but to me, draft picks just are not as valuable because you're not going to draft a guy unless you draft an X Factor. In my opinion, an X Factor or a superstar, you're kind of screwed because guys just don't develop very well. So when you draft a guy, you've only got 3 focus player spots. Well, if you're a guy like me who's got Tyree Jackson, I mean, I need Tyree to be a focus player pretty much every season. QB is the most important position. I would think most guys with a young QB is going to keep him at a focus player pretty much the entire cycle. So now it leaves me with 2 focus player spots. Okay, so who are you going to choose then? Let's say Nick, for instance, he drafted Taj Beverly. I mean, do you think he's putting Taj Beverly as a focus player? He's good at receiver is one of his favorite positions. You think he's going to put him as a focus player for the next, the rest of the cycle? So that takes up 2, I mean, when you put players in there that you want to focus on, you could fill that up, and after a couple of drafts, and then what do you do? Do you just take a player out of the focus and put the new guy in, which hurts the other guy's dev? I mean, I'm not convinced that if you get a superstar or an X factor in the draft, yes, that can make a difference. But I think anything less than that will be tough unless you perform well with them to dev them up or get them awards or get lucky and get the scenario or something. I just don't see how they're that valuable because you're right. We do have 10 seasons, but it could take 3 or 4 seasons to get a guy there. And by that time, we're halfway through. I mean, we're already in season 2. So by the time he gets to be a difference maker in 3 seasons, we've only got halfway to go. So you may only see 1 or 2 difference makers per team. I just don't see it being super valuable. I mean, they're going to matter to an extent because you got to fill your team and you got to be strategic about how you do it. I'm not convinced yet. So we'll make this one an office rant at some point. More than likely, like we already said, we've discussed this a little bit. Maybe wait after this draft and see what this draft has, and then maybe we make it an office rant next season or something.
There you go.
So we'll move on to the 3rd question here. I believe this is the 4th question. When was the last time you proudly pissed a bed? And I've included the graphic that goes with this question that was posted on Twitter. Mike Chadwick in our Discord, as you guys can see, posted a post about him being hungover, and then comments that he pissed the bed last night, and puts these laugh emojis as if he's proud of it. So this person is asking when the last time we were, proud that we pissed a bed.
Well, Josh, when I was a kid growing up, I was always told if you play with fire, you pee the bed. Maybe if you put rubber bands on a watermelon, it could cause it. Maybe that also causes you to pee the bed. I don't know. I mean, we might have learned something here.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
My answer is going to be pretty brief. I was probably little. I really can't remember when it happened, so I had to be pretty little. And I am pretty old, so it's been a long, long time ago. But I'm going to guesstimate in the 2 to maybe 5 to 6 range tops. That's my best guess. How about you?
Well, it's actually kind of funny that you say that because, sure, I might have pissed the bed when I was 2 or 5, but I'm not sure in my entire life I was ever proud of it. So I'm gonna have to say the answer is never for me. I mean, if you were proud that you pissed the bed, that's on you. But I've never been proud of pissing the bed.
Gosh, you got me with a worded question. Okay.
It was. I'm not sure what came upon Mr. Chadwick where he felt like he needed to share that with all of us. But that's some info that you might just want to hold to yourself. Maybe not tell anybody. But yeah, to answer the question, I'm not sure I've ever been proud of pissing the bed. All right, we're gonna pull up the last question here. Finally, a legit question. Probably our best one. I saved it for last because I thought this one was real good. If you had to build your team with a QB 25 years old and under, who would you pick? I'll let you go first, Rob. We'll see if you let your bias get in the way here.
Well, I'm going to speak truth. I'm going to pick Josh Allen.
Oh my God!
I'm going to go with the guy that's got a 99 throw power arm. He's.
How many wins does Josh Allen have this season?
Well, I don't know if that was the actual question. The question is, who would you go with?
All right.
I'm gonna pick the young guy with the strong arm, and he's got the mobility that he can move around, and he throws good on the run. He's going to give your offense a lot of options. You could certainly blend in RPOs, which that's something I've been trying to do. There's the whole read option side that hasn't even been touched yet. But me, Josh Allen.
Okay, I completely disagree with your pick. You did pick a guy that is clearly not winning. I'm going to pick a guy that's clearly not winning as well. But I'm going to pick Josh Allen's daddy, the guy that he wishes he was, Mr. Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Josh Allen doesn't even stand a chance with Mahomes.
Mahomes throws the ball farther, but
Mahomes is the man. Mahomes throws the ball farther. I mean, Mahomes. I played with Mahomes, and he can throw it from the 10 to like the other 5. Josh Allen can't even get close to that. So, no, Mahomes is the man. He's head and shoulders above Josh Allen on the game. There's no question about it. You clearly let your bias get in the way because Josh Allen is not the best young QB in the game.
I just spoke truth.
That'd be Patrick Mahomes. And I'm a Broncos fan, so I'm not letting bias get in the way. I'm being honest with you. I do not like the fact that the Broncos are going to have to play Patrick Mahomes the next 15, 18 years. I'm not happy about it. But the dude is the best young QB to build your team around, in my opinion. And I think maybe in the XFL, all he needs is a team change. You watch out. If Patrick Mahomes somehow gets off the Chiefs, or if Sean White gets him figured out, he's going to be deadly. And that's what gives. And Sean White, you can't that dude is hanging around. He's losing games, but he's not necessarily getting blown out all the time. And I think a lot of it is because he's got a good team, good talent, and he can win any game he jumps into. So Patrick Mahomes is the man. And I might even put this out on a poll or something because I think it's going to be about 100% Patrick Mahomes. Ain't going to be but one person vote freaking Josh Allen. That'd be you.
Nah, that's not true. We got Pride in here. We'll at least get 2 votes.
I'm not even sure he'd vote for him. He's at least got some common sense. All right, that's it for the Q&A session. Feel free to keep sending in some questions. If we get another 5 or 6 questions, we'll do another Q&A segment. So feel free to turn in some questions, tweet us some questions. You can just tweet them whenever, and I'll make sure we write them down, hold on to them, and when we accumulate enough, we'll do another segment. All right, moving on to the next segment, our new segment this show. We're going to do the AFC edition. It's going to be burning questions for each AFC team. We're just going to try to fly through these, not really spend too much time. This is actually non-scripted, so we haven't really talked too much about this. We're just going to name one of the top things that come to our head and just kind of fly through it. And we'll allow you guys, you tweet at us. You don't agree. If you got a better question about a team, or if you don't like it, our question, let us know in a tweet or something. Rob, we'll start with the East, and we'll start with the Patriots. And I'll let you take this one.
My question is, when is Tom Brady going to retire?
That's a good question, and there's a lot of questions that could be asked depending on what that answer is. So, but we'll leave it at that, and move on to the Jets. And the Jets. This one's kind of a tough one. I'm gonna have to say, kind of going off your question. Tom Brady's gonna retire soon. So, what are the Jets going to do to take control of this division? That's my question. So,
my question is, what is Eurolag? I hear so much about it. And the last game me and Josh played was crazy. I mean, it was just bizarre. I think we got disconnected desync twice, and we finally had a good connection, but it was bizarre. So, what is Eurolag?
I don't think they want us to know the answer to that one. So go ahead and take the Dolphins.
This question goes to Billy, who's had a really good season. He's had a tough little streak here. When is this 4-game losing streak? When is this streak going to end?
Yeah, he's tougher than his record says, in my opinion. I think he's gonna have good success in the league. I'm gonna take the Bills, man. I think the question is, when are you gonna move on from Josh Allen?
I don't think that's the question. Is why can't I finish these games? I lose so many games by 3 points. 1 point.
Well, that's
why
easy.
Can't I finish?
That's an easy answer. Josh Allen can't finish. You got to move on from him.
Oh, next question.
Okay, I'm gonna put our graphic up here. I didn't get it up, so put that up for everybody. Okay, so we're gonna go to the Ravens. I'll take this one. The Ravens. What would the Ravens do without Lamar Jackson?
That's a good question. My question would be, Regan, do you miss me not being in your division?
I'm sure he misses those guaranteed 2 wins a season.
Oh, man. Harsh.
All right. Moving on to the Steelers. I've got Who does he got at QB right now? I actually got to play him next. So is it Sep?
Jared has Rivers at his QB,
Oh
and
man.
he's balling. I think he's
So
like 21 touchdowns, 9
oh yeah,
interceptions.
Rivers is still good, but I do think that's a question. I don't think Rivers is a long term answer. So when and how do you get the next QB in Pittsburgh? That's my question.
The question, sharpen that question a little bit to, Jared, when are you going to get your next chance page? Because we've seen that happen in M19, and he had a hell of a year with him.
That's true. We'll move on to the Bengals and Mr. Double Nut. And when is Double Nut going to start making a rumble in that division?
Yeah, my question would actually be, is it possible for me to get Brooklyn's phone number?
He might be holding on to that. I think he's keeping that one a secret.
Could be, could be.
Now moving on to the Browns and Mr. Tosh. And good team. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't looked too in depth at what the salary cap and situation is, but that would kind of be my question: is what does his team look like in 2 seasons?
Yeah, here's my question to Tosh. When this game came out and when we were going through and when we were picking, the teams that was going to be in M20 and who was getting the Browns, and the Browns were going to be loaded and the Browns were going to be this powerhouse, and somebody like Tosh, a very, very, very good user, gets the Browns. So we got a really strong user with a really strong team, on paper. My question is, why are the Browns? Why aren't they undefeated? Why, I mean, as good as everybody hyped them up, why haven't they just? Why hasn't he just run the gauntlet on everybody?
That's true. I would have to take Tosh's back here a little bit and say, wait till after football season and then judge how he does, because I know he is preoccupied. So
That's a good point. Good point. Yeah.
I think we're going to see a different kind of Tosh when football season's over. Move on to Mr. Chadwick, and I think the question, honestly, is obvious, and that is, how long can you keep up what you're currently doing and at the rate that you're winning games? Because this is not a Chadwick that we are used to seeing. So how long can you sustain it?
Yeah, and see, my question would be, I was totally thinking something else. My question to Chadwick, please tweet us. Please answer this question, Mike, if you're out there. How many rubber bands did you get on that watermelon? I want to know. It looked like there was a bunch on there. How many rubber bands?
And the Colts, and I'm going to stop right here for a second. I wanted to make sure we did this on the show. I'm going to give a shout out to Ace.
Absolutely.
I'm a huge fan of Ace. Absolutely love that guy. I know he mentioned in his kind of farewell letter deal that he, wasn't really having fun, but I know he loves the community. So I'm so happy he's sticking around. I can't wait to see what he has in store as far as the media and stuff goes. But shout out to Ace, a great user. Maybe sometime down the road he takes over a team again. Um, I just wanted to make sure we gave him a proper shout out on the show here because I know he's a fan and uh, respect that guy. So shout out to you, Ace.
Yes. Yes, absolutely, Ace. Thank you for caring about this league. Thank you for all your effort and hard work going into this league and everything you've done to help out, and definitely look forward to playing you again at some point.
Yep. And I think that kind of leads into the biggest question about the Colts is what can JMO do to turn things around for the Colts and really compete with Mr. Chadwick?
Yeah, good question. That one is. I'll kind of stand with you on that one.
Yep. Then we got the Titans up next and Hammer. And my question is, Hammer's playing pretty good, and I think he really kind of underrated. I think he is one of the more solid users all around. And my question is, when is his time? Because this is another guy, kind of like Van. This guy deserves a shot. One of our great user, great guy, and I think his time is coming. When will he get the Titans in the playoffs and make his run?
Yeah, that was my question is, are we going to see a playoff push?
We got the Jags, my boy Grizz, another guy that I think can make a playoff push. So, but honestly, the question is here. I want to ask when he'll make the playoffs. I mean, that is a question, but the biggest question is when are you going to give Gardner Minshew his legit shot? Put him in. Let the man lead the team.
See, my question was going to be, when are we going to see the next Oklahoma drill?
Oh yeah, I'm sure we'll see. I'm sure we'll get one at some point. But I just think you got to play Gardner Minshew. You have to. We'll go to the Chargers, which we had some tweets, we had some Q&As surrounding him. So I'm just going to lead off with that. Is Jared Phillips the answer? I know it's one season. Can he be the answer that the Chargers need? Or are the Chargers going to be searching for another QB in a couple seasons?
Yeah, he's throwing some picks with him, but he's also, accruing a little bit of yardage. I think the question could be, is Jared Phillips going to be the offensive rookie of the year? Because right now he's leading.
Yep. All right, and we'll move on to the Broncos. I'll let you lead this one off.
How can I keep this clean? Here's my question with the Broncos. And again, this goes back to many conversations we've had, but are you satisfied with the trade we made at the beginning where you took Jackson, Tyree Jackson? Are you satisfied with that trade?
That's the easy answer, and that answer is yes. Because at no point, and I know last season I had a top 5 pick, but at no point do I ever plan to have a top 5 pick. And I gave you a future pick, and I'm not, if I continue to play well, I'm not sure I'll make the playoffs. I mean, the AFC is going to be a tight race this season, but I'm not going to have a top pick, and I know I never planned to have a top pick. So I don't think where my first round pick ends up this season, I do not think that it is going to be. I don't think there's going to be any QB available that's going to be better than him. So I think it's going to turn out to be okay for me.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
So I think biggest question for me is, right now my defense is performing well. I'm not passing as much as I used to, so I feel like I'm still kind of searching for an identity, and then I've got some age on the defensive line. So how I adjust to that, when those guys after a season or two, what do I do on defense? I think will be the bigger question.
Good one.
Move on to the Raiders, Mr. Doss. Man, there's questions I feel like we should have, but this man is overperforming with a roster that's, at least maybe second worst to worst roster when you look at it for Madden in the division, and he's leading the division right now.
Well, my question
is going to be how long does he stay at the top? How long does he demand to beat? Does he win 4 or 5 division titles in a row? That's my question.
My question, and Das, I need you to tweet us. I need to know the answer to this. What do I owe you for humbling Higgy like you have this season?
Oh my goodness. I'm only not humble when I talk to you, but that's pretty easy when we're talking about. I've won some championships. You've never had a winning season, but we'll move on. All right. Last one, the Chiefs. There's a lot of questions, but one that I think trumps them all is when will the Chiefs start to perform to the potential that that roster has?
That's a good question. I was thinking a little bit differently. My question to Sean, and by the way, we had another great game that came down to the last play again. For some reason, when me and him play, it always comes down to right at the end. Um, my question to Sean is: are you prepared, salary cap wise, for some of these contracts that's going to be coming up on your team? Because to me, the Chiefs is one of those teams that seems like they're going to be pretty heavy in salary cap.
Yeah, that is a very good question because he's already running into some hiccups with Mahomes refusing his contract, so he's going to have to franchise him. That's a good question. So we're going to go ahead and end this segment. We'll move on to the next one here. This pod's taking a little longer than we planned, but we hope you guys are enjoying it so far. All right, we're going to move on here to our last segment. This is our traditional office rant. And today's topic is this was actually sent to us by one of our users in the league, and we really appreciate when you guys give us these ideas. This was actually a topic that was talked about in the chat just a few days ago. One of our users messaged us and said that they'd like to, hear it on the pod. So here it is. We're going to discuss it a little bit, and it is our thoughts on running a play, and this is more talking towards pass plays, 2 to 3 times per game. It's not against the rules. It's not against the rules in the rule book. The rule book just declares not to abuse or overuse certain plays or formations. So 2 to 3 times a game is not against the rules. We'll state that, and we'll just kind of discuss that real quick. So Rob, what's your view on that?
Well, when it comes to everybody has their own way to run their offense, and everybody's unique, and that's what really makes our league special. Is everybody's got certain go-to plays and certain comfort plays. I myself, yes, I have this is the first year I've ever made a customized playbook. I've got, I think, 500 plays. Out of those 500 plays, I mean, realistically, at the end of the game, I probably run 40 to 45 to 50 plays on average is probably what I run.
Yeah.
Out of those plays, there's certain pass plays that I do like to use 2 times a game. Now there is maybe 1 or 2 of those that I wouldn't mind sprinkling in a third time. I always kind of, in the very beginning when I first got into the XCFL, it was kind of like, well, if I use this play in the first half, and then I can't use it again until the second half. But if the game goes into overtime, then you can use it again. And then, just kind of watching and learning and just kind of grasping the way everything goes, I've now started to, maybe that 1 or 2 money play that I feel confident in, that, man, this could get me a first down in this situation. I could maybe use it potentially a third time, but It just depends.
Yeah, everybody, we got some guys in the league to talk about, we want to be as sim as possible because we are a sim league. I agree. But if you're talking about sim and you want to talk about how it is in real life, I can promise you, if any real life team can run one play and this other team can't stop that one play, they're going to continue to run that play until they prove they can stop it. They're not just going to go, oh, I ran that play this game, let me not run that again. They're going to run it. Now, with that said, I understand this is a video game and that things have to be, adjusted a little bit. I like our rule. Some guys only run one play. They only run that play once a game. They won't double plays up, and that's fine. Some guys do it because, they wish the rule always that way. Some guys do it because that's just their strategy, their game plan, whatever it is. But to me, I haven't found a play yet that I can run every single game and have success with. That would be the type of play that I think would be kind of frowned upon. A play that no one can stop. But the problem is I might play a guy, or anybody. You might play a guy. You run a play, he can't stop it, so he just assumes that nobody can stop that play. But that's not true. I run some plays that against certain users, they have trouble stopping it. So I might run it, 2-3 times a game most. I might just sprinkle it in a couple times in that game and have success on it. But then I might try to run it against my next opponent, and he shuts it down because maybe the second opponent was just better at adjusting, or maybe he scouted me a little better and kind of knew what to expect out of that formation. And I think that's part of it. Is that's what I love about the XFL is we all have the capability to scout one another. So come prepared. If you're playing a user that will duplicate plays 2 to 3 times a game, to me that should be easier to scout. To watch for that formation. I don't see the problem with it. Honestly, it just depends. For me, I kind of chimed in the discussion on Discord, and I'm all for being able to run plays 2 or 3 times a game, but there's some games I don't duplicate plays that often. There's some games that I do. It all goes by game basis and who I'm playing and what kind of success I'm having.
Yeah.
To depend on what I run.
Yeah, and Higgy, when I say money plays, I'm talking about a play that I can run that I can feel confident in. That don't necessarily mean it's going to be anything short of a disaster.
Yeah.
Because you could tell by my record that it's a disaster quite a bit. But in my mind, psychologically, there's certain situations where there's a play that comes up and it's like, man, I feel like this is the perfect time to run it. And there's times where I'm stubborn and I look at the defense across from me and I think, oh, this is not going to work. And more times than not, I'm right. It didn't work. But to answer your question on, their experience is kind of a factor in this question because there are some experienced users in the XCFL that have huge playbooks that don't touch a play, but maybe once a game because they've got such an arsenal of plays at their fingertips. And they're very experienced and they've got their process and they just don't touch it. And that's awesome. And maybe one day I'll be there, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah. I mean, I got a custom playbook, and I mess with it all the time. I mean, almost on a daily basis, I might tweak something in there. I add new stuff, take old stuff out. If I use it for a few games and I never touch a formation, I might swap it out or put it back in later or something, and I have a bunch of plays that I run. That's why I was saying I might run one play 2 to 3 times this game, but the next game I may never touch it. And I think that's all just part of it, part of game planning, knowing what this opponent is weak to and what his strengths are and attacking him. And if I have one play that I know I can run 2 to 3 times against your defense in a certain situation, and I do it and have success with it, there should be nothing wrong with that. That's on the defense to stop. That's on the defensive guy to make sure he scouted his opponent enough to, be ready for that.
Yeah, hey, I seen last Saturday. I'm a Minnesota Gopher football fan. Last Saturday, we played Purdue, and we had a little RPO out of the shotgun where the quarterback just held it back and then hit a little slant pattern over the middle. It was a double slant, but he hit the inside slant pattern. They ran that play 7 times. 3 times went for long touchdowns. And then there was 3 times that it went for like a 12 to maybe 15, 18-yard first down conversion. And then one play, I think they overthrew. But, I mean, they ran that play with different wide receivers a couple times, but they ran that same play 7 times in that game. And that was a college game just last weekend. I was really surprised to see that.
Yeah, I think somebody even mentioned in the chat the other day that the Patriots might have been 1 or 2 playoffs ago ran one play like 7 straight times in a playoff game. I mean,
Wow.
you see it in real life games all the time. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I think that's why the rule is the way it is. There's just some guys that feel strongly about not repeating plays for whatever reason, whether it's just their style or whether they don't agree with it. You know, it is what it is. I personally don't see a problem with it. Um, you know, some guys don't have the time to sit and go through a playbook and make sure their playbook's deep enough to have, you know, all these plays. You know, because believe it or not, the guys that don't repeat plays, they still have a lot of pet plays that attack, you know, the same part of the field. So if my weakness is on in routes, well, you know, an opponent that scouted me enough is going to beat me up on the in routes. He may not repeat a play, but he's going to be running that same, you know, he's going to be running a similar route. So, you know, that's what a guy that may not have enough time to sit through his playbook and make sure he's got enough plays in there to be able to attack like that without repeating them. You know, he can just run 2 or 3 plays 2 or 3 times and get that same type of result. You know, that same type of attack. And all the
So
defense has to do is learn how to defend those areas of the field.
so we're agreeing on this topic.
Yes, we are in agreement for the first time so
So
far.
did we just become friends?
I'm not sure I would take it that far, but we did agree somewhat. It actually makes me feel like I need to disagree with you on something. No, we agree on this one. I'm okay with repeating plays.
Same here.
I
Same
don't
here.
I don't have a problem with it. You know, it to me, if a guy's repeating a play, it should make him easier to scout. It's actually harder to scout guys that don't repeat plays, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So
We've got a good rule. It doesn't get abused.
yeah,
I think it's perfect.
yeah, I don't think anything should really need to change there. Honestly, it'll be interesting to see what guys tweet us. You know, I'll put out a poll again. You know, do you guys agree with me and Rob this time, or are you against being able to run a play 2 or 3 times? You know, specifically pass plays. Are you guys against it, or are you okay with it? Um, you know, feel free to vote on that poll. You know,
Yeah.
you can tweet us about it too. Chime in, give us your opinions. You know, we love the input from you guys. We have received some input. We've received some feedback. We'd love to receive more though. Like to see more guys tweeting us and interacting with us a little bit more.
Fire away, yeah.
Yeah, that really helps us out. Um, you know, whether it's helping us develop a new segment or new content to put on here, that we really appreciate that when guys chime in and you know put some input in for us. So that's our office rant of the day. We hope you guys you know enjoy these rants. Like I said, this one is the first one that someone actually had requested. So I hope that you're kind of satisfied with what we put out here. Um, and if anybody else has any other requests for office rants, feel free to let us know too, because we'll make sure we get them on. Okay, that does it for today's episode. Um, this one's a little longer one, but we hope you guys enjoy it. You know, give us some feedback. You know, if you like it or not, or what you'd like to see added, or just anything you guys can think of. Make sure you give us some feedback. I want to again give a shout out to Mr. Ace, man. We love you. We love you, man. Looking forward to seeing what kind of content you put out on the media side. We're gonna definitely have to get you on the show moving forward.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah, definitely, Ace. If we do have this XCFL meet and greet, would be awesome to get a chance to meet you there. That's for sure. But it would be proper for me to sign off without letting everybody know that Week 14 approaches. And there's been somebody talking a little bit of smack on Discord about getting his 50 burgers out and getting them ready for this game. I'm thinking right now you're going to get one of two different teams. The Bills have been we've had some struggles at defense, and here lately we've played pretty good defense. So it'll be curious to see, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think Ace and Smooth are going to broadcast it. So
Well, they kind of
this
have to. I mean,
you got to get your popcorn ready for this one.
that's the game of the week. So no, I've already pretty much signed my admission to the Burger Club. I mean, it's pretty much all but done.
Wow.
I've already got all that set up. So they need to stream it, but in all honesty, after about halftime, it really ain't gonna be worth watching. So
could be. Hey, Mike Chadwick just tweeted me. It says, "I Higgy, don't piss the bed." So,
I'm gonna make sure I don't do that. No, it's gonna be a good game. I think the league will enjoy it. Hopefully, I don't embarrass you too bad.
I hope so too.
No, yeah, we're so that's it for today, guys.
Later, guys.
We're hope you guys enjoy this episode, and we'll have another one out for you. Hopefully, getting it next week. See you guys.
Later.